slowly getting in there. Hi, Sonja, can you hear me?
I hear you fine, Teresa. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, wonderful. I was just talking until you came on. So now I'm going to go on my page and create a watch party so my viewing audience could do that. And I would suggest you do the same. Create a watch party from KAZ Radio TV so your viewing audience can also see the show as well. I'm sharing right now. All right, cool beans. So now I'm sharing. If you are watching right now, please you can put your information in the tagline via Facebook, via YouTube, and what have you. Sonja, something is covering your screen.
Oh, I went to start the watch party.
Okay, cool beans, cool beans. So once she get her watch party started, we're gonna have her introduce herself. So this is my guest, Sonja Leftwich. Sonja Leftwich is the president of J&S Marketing Resources, and she also has a nonprofit organization, and her nonprofit organization is called Colors Community Resources Incorporated. So that's good. So she's twofold. She has a for-profit business, and she also has a nonprofit business. So she has a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information that's going to help us grow our businesses during this time. Sonja, welcome to the show.
Thank you. There we are. Okay.
All right.
So thank you for having me, Teresa. It's good to see you.
You as well. You as well. You look fabulous during this time of pandemic. It's like you look like you're not missing a beat.
Well, actually, I'm not. Everybody's been complaining of gaining weight, and I've been losing weight.
Good for you. So, that makes two of us. That makes two of us.
About that. Good.
Yeah. We've been walking, my husband and I, during this time. So good. So this is the part of the show when you tell us all about yourself. So introduce yourself to the viewing audience, Sonja.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Sonja Leftwich. I own J&S Marketing Resources, and we're the business behind micro to mid-sized businesses. So we do everything from planning your business, licensing your business. If you're infringing on someone's intellectual property, we negotiate those terms for you. We handle your marketing, funds development. If you need money, we find the cash for you. If you are looking for grant revenue, we locate the grants for you. Make sure that you're compliant so that you can apply. If you need grant writing, we're there. If you need the business insured, we're there. So we didn't start out as a one-stop shop, but because we didn't like the lack of service, service is just really important, and knowledge is even as important. And we were referring our clients. We would do the planning and different things, and then we refer you somewhere else to get other things done. And the pricing wasn't correct, the services weren't correct, that kind of thing. So we got tired of fighting with other companies to do the right thing. So we end up just keeping the clients. And so with that, came the real estate division where we handle, we represent out of country and out of state homeowners that own property here in Cleveland. So they may need tenant placement. We have tenant placement services. A few properties we manage. We do a lot of general maintenance repairs, some renovations, things like that. And then our newest division is the mentoring, the business owner mentoring, keeping the owner with us to make sure that they're kind of moving through their process in the best manner and that they're actually experiencing the success that they hope to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. It's like, I love the fact that you have everything. Like you said, you're a one-stop shop. Everything that you need is right there in your services. So a lot of times before we get all into the business, we want to get into the person. We want to get into Sonja, okay? So before we do that, we do this thing called ETR. And ETR means earn the right. So earn the right. Tell us a little bit about your background, the sweat, the tears, the things that you, because I think that people need to know the nitty gritty of it. It's like we didn't just wake up today and start this business and it's been successful all the time. So earn the right for us to listen to you today.
Awesome. Well, I do a lot of business consulting, and I've worked in the business consulting groups for several years for all of the Big 10 firms. So Deloitte & Touche, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young, Ernst & Winnie, going back that far. I also have a legal background, have worked for all the major law firms here in Cleveland, either working in an administrative supervisory capacity or working in IT. I worked in IT for many years. My construction background, working for Middle Associates and Vision Hauling and Contracting for many years. So I know my way around construction, which is how our real estate division actually was formed. The nonprofit side, I was elected to be the executive director of Colors Community Resources back in 2010. And the organization's mission is to bridge divides, no matter what causes those divides. And typically, when you think of divides, what actually divides us is either hunger, housing, employment, entrepreneurship, youth programming, and education. Those are the 6 things in everybody's life that create the divide. Now, whether that divide is there because of socioeconomic challenges or because of race or religion, gender, you know, these are the things that actually divide us. And so you can fix those things just by providing better services in those areas and supporting everyone equally in those areas.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like today I feel like it's a good time to be a Black person. Even though when they say African American, like when I was a kid, I was Black. Okay, I turned into an African American, I think, until I got like 20 something. So my mama and them was colored folks. My grandmama was Negroes. So we went from Negroes to colored folks to Black, and I'm Black and I'm proud. So now we African Americans. So I always relate to myself as Black because that's what I grew up as, Black. So it's a good time to be Black in America right now, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would.
So,
but you know, it's funny that you say that like that because I never felt that. I guess I was always the token. I was always pulled into Caucasian markets. I would be the only one. And I guess because I was the one, I wasn't offended, you know, that kind of thing. But it's funny because we just go about our life and go about our day, never really looking at what's happening and what are we really a part of. And I think that is what actually created my exit from corporate America. Was one day I had a gentleman, a Caucasian gentleman, say, he says, "You're really pretty." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "Do you know that most business professional white men, they hate you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "You represent everything they hate." He said, "The reason you have trouble in the workplace is because white men hate you." And I started just playing my whole life over. And he gave me a couple examples of what Black women represent, because when you talk about history and that white America gave Black women, white male America gave Black women the hand up, in a sense. Even though they kept us low, they gave us the hand up where they wouldn't give the Black man the hand up. Oh. So we actually represent something that they were very much afraid of. Once they gave us the hand up, we kept being educated. We kept progressing in our careers. We kept moving. And so I guess it became threatening to some. And I guess when all that came to me in 2013, that's when I realized, oh boy, I don't fit anymore, you know, because we still are at a place today where women of all races, we're still not equal in the workplace. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. And when you look at what your responsibilities are in corporate America, you're making them millions and billions of dollars. And you're looking at your paycheck every pay and figuring out what you're paying because there's not enough. So I just thought, okay, it's time now to go. I always had a business for as long as I can remember on the side of the job, but it comes to our fear. The reason that those are our hustles or our little businesses are on the side of the job is because we've been trained and to actually punch that clock. We need somebody to tell us to take this break, eat at this time, go to the restroom at this time, do this during these hours. And so when you get to a place where you are no longer afraid of actually controlling that same timeline for yourself each day, you can exit.
Amen.
You can exit.
That's really good that you're saying that, because it's ironic. I think about like your trajectory and mine is totally different. So I was an entrepreneur all my life, my whole life. My mother called her a hustler, right? So I was brought up by a hustler. So I was an entrepreneur. I didn't get a job till 4 years ago, right, in corporate. And it was more or less like most people are like thriving to get out of corporate, and I was wanting to get into corporate just to have that whole experience. So I always tell entrepreneurs, you find out what works for you, because for me, being an entrepreneur all my life for the last 40, 30 years, then to go into corporate, it was culture shock for me. Because from being an entrepreneur, from making the decisions, from being the decision maker to basically following instructions. So when I read the job description, it said I want an entrepreneurial spirit, but you come in there with an entrepreneurial spirit, that's really not what they want.
Not what they want, absolutely.
That's not. They want you to follow instructions. So for the first year, I was frustrated because I couldn't get it. Then I'm like, okay, Teresa, use this energy for your business. Look at your corporate job as your benefactor. This is my benefactor to help pay for my business and continue to move on. But with that being said, it's just, I just feel like it's a good time to be a Black person, a Black woman in America. And what you said about the whole Black man piece, that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. My husband and I was having a conversation about that last night. And I said, it's purpose by design, whether we see it or not. It's purpose by design to keep our Black man down. So, you know, then you get a woman that's conscious. This is still my husband. This is still my king. He is still the head of the household, no matter what opportunities society awards me. But let's get into the topic for today, because we can be all off on something else. I'll be on here preaching, girl. I'll be on here preaching. So thank you so much for earning the right, and your background is amazing. So you come to this time right now with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So the first thing that I want to talk about, your whole thing is real estate. So with the real estate here in America today, in the midst of COVID-19, what is your thoughts about that?
Well, in speaking directly about what's going on here in Cleveland, I'm sure it's, you know, it's happening in other parts of the country, but here in Cuyahoga, you know, we had basically the last week of February is when everything shut down. It was a gradual over a 3-week period. It started that last week of February, and then by the second week of March, almost everybody was at home. And so the ridiculousness of tenants, where they had money to pay their rent, they opted not to. They actually told landlords that, hey, I do have the money to pay, but I'm going to not pay and wait and see what the government provides me. And so from there, you had all the folks that legitimately got unemployment, but you got even more people who illegitimately, illegally, fraudulently received unemployment, as well as PUA, as well as SBA loans. So what ended up happening is there was a moratorium, which is still in place, for federal voucher holders. So Section 8 and Eden, they are protected until December 31st. So there's a no eviction order on them. For regular tenants, the courts opened up June 15th for eviction. In Cleveland only. So if you resided in a suburb of Cleveland, those courts didn't open.
Okay.
So can't get those folks out yet. But for Cleveland, you started filing your evictions June 15th, and then your date for court, which was on Zoom, was 30 days out, and then judge would give even more time. But the fallout here is, one, where do these people go? Because our market, if you look at how our market is, the rental rates are going up and up and up. You know, folks that chose not to go back to work when called back to work, folks that chose not to work because the company they felt couldn't keep them safe as far as social distancing, the folks that didn't go back to work because there was no daycare, the folks that didn't go back to work because now the kids are going to go to school from home. Someone has to be there. Just a lot of unexpected problems, and things weren't being addressed timely. So now we more than ever, we have the need for other types of resources. You know, our homeless shelters, they can only house 50% of their standard capacity because of social distancing.
Okay, yeah.
Now they're already full. And so it's really important that landlords take a different approach right now. Many of the landlords who were totally against accepting Section 8, they're all on board now. But the bigger issue is you have all these people who have large sums of money right now in the bank coming from unemployment, PUA, and these SBA loans. As of last Friday, they actually started arresting people who received these funds fraudulently. For unemployment, if you fraudulently received unemployment, that is a felony, and it's been over 88,000 people have already been notified.
So they're going to catch up with that, right? It's going to catch up with you.
Yes. They were doing everybody a favor by pushing the money out quickly.
Just putting it out, not really checking. It didn't have the resources to check. So let's pause right when let's come back to that. I have some people asking questions. Somebody said TANF. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that's Ohio Job and Family Services. Yeah.
It went away. Oh, somebody trying to call me. Chat. Come on, y'all. I'm on the show. And then somebody else said, what is PUA?
PUA is the unemployment in Ohio for business owners.
PUA, okay.
So, PUA. So the people lied and said that they had they were self-employed. They were braiding hair. So there's a lot of fraud that took place here in Ohio.
Okay.
And a lot of people who have not worked in several years are on disability, things like that, have received thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, in the tune of more than 10 grand, you know. And so they're doing the checks and balances, and those people are going to be held accountable. Now, how it's all going to be handled, I don't know, because typically you can't lean on government assistance of any kind, but somehow the state is going to want their money back.
Of course, because a lot of money has been out. Yeah, with the stimulus checks and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And last Friday, when the FBI showed up at a particular gentleman's home to arrest him, that was the first here locally that I was made aware of. So they started picking up people, arresting them. They already have the evidence. They're doing the checks and balances now. So a lot of people, when you talk about housing, they have all this money right now. And so for landlords, I think it's really important, if they're not going with a Section 8 or the to look at short-term rental. Stay away from the one-year leases right now. Do the month-to-month right now. And you have to, like our company, we do the tenant placement and we dig into a person's background. And right now, our whole Q&A with the prospective tenant has all changed. We're asking, you know, did you receive unemployment? Did you receive PUA? Have you received an SBA loan. We're asking for copies of their bank statement. And the reason we're doing it is because we don't want the landlord to end up in a bad place, like, oh, this person gets arrested, now you're out of a, so we're now just looking at, okay, we do short term, a 6-month lease is probably the longest lease I would suggest. And I have people who, they're willing to pay out a 6-month lease in cash right now because they got all that money, and so it's a really bad time, and it's going to get worse. We're going to have more people that are homeless. We still have the issue of those that are working, not earning a living wage. So they're going to struggle with paying market rate rent because they're not earning $15 an hour. So I think, we need to be mindful of that. If you are thinking of getting into the real estate investment business, this is a good time. Actually, one of the best times. But the way in which you do it is not how it was done previously.
It's a new day for that. So with that being said, how are landlords handling evictions right now? How are they going about? Because I didn't keep up with this, so help me if, from my understanding, there was a time period where you could not evict. Is that true?
Correct. And
okay.
Right. And that was extended through December 31st.
Okay.
And for people that have housing vouchers, there's no inspections from Section 8 through December 31st. They will readdress the matter first of the year 2021. So that too is a very bad thing because that opens up the floodgates for slumlords to take advantage of Section 8. And then the tenant, it's very difficult right now for a tenant that has a Section 8 voucher to move somewhere because you cannot go inside of CMHA's building right now.
Okay.
And you can't get anyone to answer a phone right now. So you have to have landlords that know how, or property managers like our company that know their way around CMHA to actually get things done. It's just a really bad time where everybody is taking advantage of a system. It doesn't make sense, but it's what's happening. Tenants and landlords alike are taking care of a system. And slumlords, they're having their field day right now with taking on Section 8 tenants, getting guaranteed payments, but their properties are not up to code the way they should be. But because there's no inspection and they know it, they just...
With independent landlords, can they evict? I know like government programs, they can, but what about like me, I own some property, they're not paying. Can I put them out or I just got to sit on it?
In Cleveland.
Okay.
Now, Cleveland is moving forward, but all the suburban governments, municipal governments, they have not, like South Euclid, Lyndhurst, their courts still have not opened. There are so many evictions in those cities. City of Euclid, everybody is siding with the tenants right now. So that's making it a little more difficult. So for landlords, dealing with a company like mine that can make the transition for the tenant easier and just avoid court altogether, buy the keys back.
Right.
Buy the keys back from the tenant. Let us find them somewhere else to move.
Okay.
And handle that for them, and then court's not even needed.
Right.
The court is asking that people learn to work out their differences. That's what court is asking right now. Eviction court is asking it. Civil court is asking it. Work your differences out. Work this out. Adults should be able to work things out. But the tenants, I have to say, they're a little bit more savvy and smarter than some of the landlords, and they're really taking advantage of the landlords.
The landlords, yeah. I mean, sometimes some people are capitalists. They take advantage of the situation. So another question says on the timeline: will Section 8 honor a month-to-month lease or a 6-month lease?
No.
No. Okay. So that's more
Section
for the independent
landlords. An annual lease, right?
Okay. All right. So,
but if you are wanting to guarantee your money, my company can get your money guaranteed. We can have it all paid out day one on a 6-month lease.
Okay.
Because of what we're doing to actually all the verifications and things we do with our tenants now, we know what they can afford to pay.
Okay.
And we will make them pay it if they want to move to a particular place. Whereas an individual landlord could get in some trouble.
Okay.
Asking certain questions, asking for certain verifications, things like that. We are a service that serves both sides, the landlord and the tenant. Our job is to make them both equally happy.
All right. So everybody walk away with a win-win situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what can landlords do to help with this process?
Well, landlords can really help right now with this situation by going with the shorter term lease.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually, it's in the landlord's favor. Maybe you want to get to know the tenant, see if the tenant, you want them at your property long term. Some of the tenants are a nightmare. So with a shorter term lease, you get the opportunity to see who you're living with.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, if in month 2 or 3 you see, hey, I don't want them here long term, then you're not bound that way, and you can move on. And you don't have to lose money. That's what my company is for. You don't have to lose a dime. This tenant coming out and this next one coming in, we can make it seamless.
Good.
From doing the prep for the new tenant in your property to screening your folks to get them in, and we find that matching a tenant with a property and a landlord is the most important thing ever. You just can't put people anywhere. They have to suit the property. The landlord has to suit the tenant. You have to be able to recognize, are those personalities going to work or are they going to clash?
Yeah, to me, that's what anything you want to, I call it date them for a minute. A job,
yes.
a ministry, a organization that you're thinking about being a part of it. I'm sorry to window up. An organization that you're thinking about being a part of, you need to date that organization for a minute. And this sounds like a good way to get a feel for the tenants before they have a long-term whole year lease in your property.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, very much so.
That's cool. So the state of housing in Cuyahoga County that is affected by COVID-19. Any other takeaways you want to talk about that before we move into your business mentoring? And yeah.
Right now, people think everybody's focused on money right now because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know we know a lot of businesses are closing. We know a lot of brick and mortar businesses are getting rid of brick and mortar and going online. We know that we are getting ready to experience even more people that are going to be unemployed. Everybody is complaining right now about the possible new stimulus package, and it's not made for you to stay on it forever. It's made to get you back to work. So everybody's complaining about that. But if you're in a situation, you're a tenant, you're in a situation, you're needing to move, if you have a Section 8 voucher, nobody wants to accept it, and you're having difficulty, give us a call. We have properties that will accept it. If you have an Eden voucher, same thing. If you're a veteran and you're looking for housing, give us a call. Our number is 440-497-0454. Give us a call. My cell phone number is 216-322-5131. We operate 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. The only day of the week we're closed is Fridays, and we're actually here to help. Sometimes we don't have properties that suit people, so we've been offering them a list of properties that we don't have under contract, but they suit their needs and they can make their own calls and things. But on the landlord side, consider the shorter term lease, because right now with this COVID situation, we don't know what's going to happen. I understand that a lot of people now are willing to accept Section 8 because they want a guarantee on their rent, but you could also get in some trouble with that, have the wrong tenant, and it'd be very difficult to get them out of the place.
Yeah.
So also look at you know, dealing with agencies like mine or like, what is it? Some of the housing organizations, you know, look at,
Cleveland Housing Network, do they do the kind of the same stuff that you do or no?
no, Cleveland Housing Network right now is another good outlet for buying homes. They've got some homes for sale between $5,000 and $9,000,
Wow.
and they're doing all the major mechanical repairs to it for you, and working with you to get you into home ownership.
Awesome.
So if you're looking for that, go on their website. They have the houses listed on their website, and give them a call.
Okay, so one more question before we shift into business mentoring. The question is there still an escrow for tenants who don't want to pay their slum landlords, who know that they will be inspected for unattended repairs?
Yes, there is. It's with your city government, wherever that home is located. The problem with it right now is that if it's in the suburbs, it's not open.
Yeah.
So you have to call to find out how do you get the money into the escrow, and how do you get the paperwork. And then the city of Cleveland, they are not open to the public, but they have a group of people at the door that will provide you paperwork and different things that you need. And if not, give me a call. I'll get the paperwork for you.
All right. So Sonja is an excellent resource in more ways than one. In more ways, we could be on this show for 2 hours, but we only got one. So let's get to the next 30 minutes. All right. So the next 30 minutes, we want to talk about small business mentoring. And just for my viewing audience, I can't say enough about networking and getting in the right network. It's so important for your growth and development and for your business's growth and development. I just want to tell a quick story and then we're going to get into it. I remember when I first opened up my salon and Spy. It was my second business. It was way bigger. I had 3,500 square feet. I had 23 employees. I had a lot of things going on. And I remember one of my clients sitting in my chair, and she was telling me about how I should be running my business. And at the time, she's an educated woman. She has a PhD and all that stuff. So we were talking, oh, Teresa, you should do this and you should do that. And then I just paused and I said, okay, so how many successful businesses have you ran? Cricket, cricket, cricket. So you need come on. So yes, you have a PhD and yes, you can do the social work and all of that stuff, but this is not your expertise. This is not what you know. So that's why there's a need for business mentors, because they know, they've been down that road before. They know. So with how has COVID affected small businesses in our community?
Well, this is just my opinion, so don't jump on me, world. But my opinions are usually pretty well thought out. I think it's terrible. Let me back up. I think it's great that COVID has created all this opportunity for business development. But I think it's terrible that folks have just jumped out here, have never had a business. Everything is theory. There's no actual hands-on. They don't know their way out of a manhole. And it's really bad because they're out there taking folks' money. I get a ton of people who have gotten ripped off by one company, and they're what I call the Google business owner, who they've gotten online, read something, bought some program. First off, let me just share something with you. When you buy businesses in a box, basically, when you buy these programs, there's something missing in those programs. You pay $197, $297, $397 for the program. Do you actually think that all the parts are there? I am a person who can come and punch holes in every program. I can tell you what's missing. Right now is a time of people being taken advantage of in business. You've got too many first-time business owners who will not do the due diligence. They'll read just enough and think, oh, let's run the marathon. And then here I come in the next lane to crash them out because they're taking people's money, misleading people, telling people they can do things that they can't do, not being, first of all, before you do anything, establish your foundation. You know what I mean? Get your education together in the field that you're going to be delving into. It's not just about what's happening now. When somebody says, "Oh, I know my business," that means they know the history, past, present, current, and they know what the future holds for that industry. If they can't have that kind of conversation, then rethink dealing with them. But also, make sure, ask people for resource or references. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
References. Any business function that requires a license, whether that's the insurance agent, the accountant, the CPA, you can call Ohio, look on Ohio Secretary of State's website. They have resources where you can call and verify, are these people legitimate? When it comes to accountants, like everybody thinks they need an accountant. Everybody doesn't need an accountant. I don't know what you think you need them for, but everyone doesn't need one. And if you think you need one, verify their license with the IRS. Call the IRS and say, hey, I want to know if this certified public accountant has a valid license. The IRS will tell you because the IRS has to keep up with the accountants who lose licensing so that they're not actually still telling people they have licenses, sending in taxes and things on behalf of clients and having that information on there. I am a registered preparer for the IRS. I only will do your taxes if you own a business. I'm only concerned at this point with helping those of us, no matter how small our business or large our business. I want us to keep our money and be able to grow and be able to hire and employ and just keep our business flourishing.
Yeah.
It's very important that you have a mentor who can take you step by step. Like I realized, yes, I do a ton of workshops. I realized that spending 4 hours with me, you're on brain overload. You stop listening probably in the right around the beginning of the second hour. You can't absorb any more of what I'm saying. You're not going to retain it, let alone are you comprehending it. It's all new to you. Even though you get a manual for all my workshops, can you go back, read the manual, and facilitate what it is you're trying to do? I found out that you can't. So now I offer, okay, do you really want to learn how to do this yourself, or do you just want this done? Giving people the option of how they spend their money.
And time.
And
time. So let's
yes.
just stick a pin and pause right there for a moment, right? So even with our ministry, we had QuickBooks for quite some time. And going back to what you said, do you need an accountant? Sometimes you don't need an accountant, you need a bookkeeper. And then sometimes you do need more than an accountant, you need a CPA, right? So, but you have to be able to know what your business needs are. And then in knowing what your business needs are, knowing what your capacity is to be able to do the things that need to be done. So our story, we had QuickBooks, we had it for quite some time. Our CPA moved out of town, which you still can do QuickBooks, but we were trying to do it in-house. We played around with it, the finance team, for 6 months. We came to the realization, no, we do ministry. We don't do QuickBooks,
Absolutely.
So then you have to know, where is your capacity most effective? So our capacity is most effective ministering to the broken people, introducing them to Jesus, than trying to figure out QuickBooks for 4 to 6 hours a week.
Well, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that about QuickBooks, because I also had QuickBooks, right? And I had gotten grants to send my team to training for QuickBooks. So they would go for like 8, 16 hours or whatever. Oh, I got it. It would be a mess.
Then they changed it.
It was a mess. It was a mess. And so I was looking at the cost of it. And then I'm looking now to make things as easy and breezy for training purposes. I don't want my new staff to struggle with learning. I want it to make sense, be simple, And so we end up moving to FreshBooks.
Okay.
And FreshBooks, I think we were paying $100 some a month for QuickBooks, but FreshBooks, the platform, you can get all the bells and whistles for $300 for the whole year. And it was a very simplistic process, very easy to understand. The invoicing area, the accounting area, the expense input. You just input the data, it puts everything where it has to go, which is the thought that we had when we got with QuickBooks. Okay, that was the joke back then. But then they need to keep making more and more money, so they keep changing it and separate services.
They move stuff. You look there, it wasn't there. La la la. So
Yeah.
why is business mentoring more important now than ever before?
Because we're getting ready to be in we're in a situation. We're not getting ready. We're now in a situation where there aren't going to be enough jobs. You're going to have to identify your talent, hone your craft, and market yourself. That's what it's coming to. And so with this business of not being able to social distance, want to keep your family safe.
That again. Repeat that. What they need to do. What they need to do. Repeat that one more time.
Identify your talent.
Identify your talent. Not chase a dollar. Identify what your God-given talent is. Okay. Number one, identify your talent. Okay.
And I'm just going to give you an example. Some people think that their talent is what the employer hired them to do. I am one of those people. My business is only the things that I used to do for employers in corporate America. But sometimes, if you didn't have a career and you had a job, you may just be cheap labor for that employer. So that may not be your talent. Did you like what you were doing? You want to be happy. You don't want to trade a headache for a headache. So you want to actually identify what makes you happy that you can do well. You might have been a typist on the job that typed 55 words a minute. I was a typist on the job. I typed 90 words a minute. Okay, so I'm really the typist, not 55 words a minute. At 55 words a minute, you like to bake cakes. Everybody's coming to you about those cakes. Maybe that is what the talent is. It might not be what you've been doing in standardized employment. You might be like your house, and I have a girlfriend who everything must be in its place in her house. She is the absolute coldest organizer ever, okay? So that might be your talent. It may not be anything that's associated with what you've been doing as far as your job goes. So and to be honest, the lack of honesty has created exactly where we are today, okay? The lack of honesty. Be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody, but you want to be truthful to yourself that you hate doing a particular thing, or you're not good at it, or you struggle with it. You're able to do it. People think you're good at it, but you struggle doing it. Be honest with yourself. Don't get into situations where you're not going to be comfortable. It's about you being comfortable in order to succeed. Once you identify your talent, now you want to see what's missing from your talent, meaning hone the craft. So what is it? Do you know all the steps of your talent? Do you know it in and out, backwards and forwards? So now look at just that function. Not everything else, just that function. We're always, as everybody says, all over the place. This isn't a time to be all over the place. Right now is the time to actually identify the talent, hone the craft, and now let's build something. Because it's nothing but opportunity right now. There's nothing but money out there right now. There's so much money right now, it's just ridiculous. I've got a friend who's my treasurer for my nonprofit. I got her running through the grant database every day. She's sending me stuff like, hey, we got 21 days to apply for this. And there's so much. And the needs are so great, people, because these businesses are out of business. The folks that People are closing down. No, listen. Here, just think about it logically. Can the bar or the restaurant make it on a fifth of the revenue that they were generating? No, they cannot. Okay, so they're going to end up out of business. The big franchise restaurants, they got all that money for the payroll protection program so that they could keep their staff and keep the business going. Then they got loans from the SBA. And what did they do? They turned around and they shut down breakfast and lunch. That's totally against what they got the money for.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get the money to lay off anybody, but that's what they did. They all cut the breakfast and lunch and started opening just for dinner. So now they walk away with all this money that now should have been shared with other small businesses like you and me, but they absorbed it, not used it for what it was actually given for. And so they're going to end up out of business too.
It's just
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So this is, like you said, this is the time for entrepreneurs. This is the time for emerging entrepreneurs. This is the time for small business owners. So first, identify your craft. Then hone in or identify your talent. Hone in on your craft, and then create
make the steps. That's right. And when you go to create something, once you hone your craft, you'll be able to see that talent, how it works from start to finish. You always have to keep a thought process of step one, step two. Keep it in order. Order your steps. I don't care if you're not the church person. Life and the world is based upon order your steps.
It's principles. It's principles. It's business.
It's all principles.
Biblical principles work whether you're a Christian or not. Biblical principles work. So the Bible says your gift will make room for you. That translated, Pastor T, a virgin, your gift will make dollars for you. Your gift. And God has placed various gifts in each and every one of us. So whatever that gift is, and once you identify your talent, while you're in the process of honing your craft, there may be some holes. So let's go back to the bookkeeping example. I'm not good with numbers. I don't have to be. I need to bake these cakes, okay? And I'm good at baking these cakes, and they taste so good they melt in your mouth. Don't nobody make a cake like I make a cake. So then that's when you have a relationship. That's when you partner. Partnerships. I mean, to me, it's almost like we can't make it without partnerships today. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And so you don't have to do it all. We come together, we talk about it, we partner, and then you're going to get X amount of dollars. I'm going to get X amount of dollars.
Absolutely.
And then we come together and make this thing happen, because now is an entrepreneur's time. It's the time of the entrepreneur. It's the time of the entrepreneur. Woo, this was so
And don't
good.
be afraid because you don't have what the money. None of us have the money that we needed when we started. Okay, don't be afraid of that. What you do is, like Teresa said, you need the partnership, the collaborative partner. Keep this in mind. We all have an external or an internal team. The external team are the people outside of our business that support our business, whether they're the client, they're the service provider, they're a vendor. We are on your team. Then you have your internal team, which is your staff. Okay, most of us, when we start out, we can't afford any staff. Do you know right now, there are tons of programs that will provide you free staff for a period of time to allow you to get on your feet. There's tons of opportunities to have volunteers assist you, but understand this. There's a lot of misconception where for-profits go around asking for people to donate money and for people to volunteer their time. The last tax change by President Trump in beginning of 2019, that last tax change, which eliminated people volunteering for a nonprofit from actually deducting, having a tax deduction of the time that they spend volunteering, which was the largest deduction ever. And it was the reason why so many people would donate their time. When they took that away, that has changed the entire nonprofit sector. Okay, now when you talk about volunteering your time, the founders, the board of directors, the executive directors of the nonprofit have to be mindful. Whoever's writing those grants, you better include some money for your volunteers, because now they're not getting a tax deduction. Make sure you got enough money to feed them, give them, $25, $50 gift cards, whatever it is. You write them in, because without them, you're not going to be successful. They are your team. The volunteers are your team. But for the for-profit, I think it's very offensive asking somebody to donate money or volunteer their time so that you can take all the money and do whatever you want with it. I don't understand that, and they don't seem to understand the offensiveness of it, because they don't understand business structure and they don't understand tax implications. So I'm not the one you want to have the conversation with unless you're ready to learn. Do things the right way. Don't ask of people what you're not willing to do. You're not going to feed money into a for-profit that they're just going to do whatever they want with. You'll feed money into a nonprofit. Why? Because the profits can't go in their pocket.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. And that's a good segue into the next thing. We got 5 minutes. Didn't that time go fast, girl? 5 whole minutes. So we got 5 minutes. Let's talk about your nonprofit venture. So tell me about your nonprofit and the workforce development program that you guys will be coming out with soon.
We've got a lot going on, but our immediate focus right now, you've got the people that are 50 years old or older who are definitely, they were already trying to push them out. Now they're really done. They're done. So our program, Quinquag is what it's called.
Say it again. What is it called? What is it called?
Quinquag, QUINQUAG. Okay. And Quinquag is a word that's representative of people over 50.
Okay.
And so our program is going to identify people that are 50 and over who have been displaced from the workforce, who we feel can actually transition into becoming life and health insurance agents. And so we've been awarded a good startup fund right now to get it going. We will be paying for the actual training for them. We'll be paying for their licensing, and we'll be providing them leads to start their business for their first 60 to 90 days. Our program actually was developed prior to COVID. And so because of COVID, it had to change, because we were providing them office space and conference rooms for meetings and things like that, but we're no longer providing that. So they'll be working from home. We'll be providing Zoom access for them to meet with their clients and everything. And then allowing them to actually make a better living, probably, than they were on the job and in half the time, and actually just live. You can't live if you're on the job 40 hours a week, and our hope is at 50 years old, people have an option of, do they want to still work in corporate America, or is it time to exit and still be able to live well, spend time with your family, watch your grandkids and that grow up, or whatever have you, whatever it is you want to do, travel or whatever. Certain businesses just afford you freedom.
Yeah.
And being a life and health agent, like at 50 years old, I'm 53. There's no way in the world at 50 that I could see getting up at 6 in the morning like I used to be at work by 8:30, to get off at 5. I cannot do it, because at 6 in the morning, I'm just going to bed. I haven't worked all night, So we hope that, we actually are working with U.S. Department of Labor, where we've offered to train seniors, because believe it or not, we've got to take all the money that was allocated for getting young people into the workforce and they didn't want to work. Now we are taking that same revenue and we're now bringing the seniors back into the workforce, because we don't have a choice.
And that's an excellent platform, because this is the first time in history, we got 1 minute left. This is the first time in history where seniors, the population is 2/3 seniors anyway. I mean, this
Exactly.
never happened again with baby boomers and then the
Boomers, yeah.
generation X. So we have more seniors than we do everybody else.
Every-
So it totally
Exactly.
makes sense. So my question is, with Quinquag, is that more or less like we giving seniors entrepreneur opportunities?
We're giving an opportunity to qualified people 50 and over to transition to life and health insurance agents.
Awesome.
In order to
go ahead, finish your thought.
call us 216-322-5131. Our email is j@marketingresources@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Sonja,
Thank
for being my
Teresa.
guest. I really appreciate it. And whenever we talk, we could just go on and on and on and on. But our time has run out for Christian Networking Entrepreneurs. To my viewing audience, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to Sonja. She's a wealth of knowledge. She has a wealth of resources for us. This is Christian Networking Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Pastor T. And remember, if you don't network, you don't work. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, Sonja. I'll talk to you soon.